good evening to everyone on Earth observing our uncontrolled acceleration into orbit. It kind of looked like we were gonna skip the planet, but now, Maul, it looks like we're probably going to burn up in the atmosphere. It's these times that I thank the massive amounts of pure alcohol, medical alcohol, that I've been mixing into apple juice. How are you, Maul?
As good as can be expected, realizing that our impending doom is surely within just a matter of hours, as it were. But aside from all this doom and gloom, we have some very exciting pre-10 football Psych-Manders. My goodness, can you believe we are headed into MAC Championship Week?
It's been such a journey here. The ups and downs, the emotional roller coaster, the stomping of Funky Butt-Lovin' and the 51ers and their meteoric rise at the end, only to be crushed by the cruel arithmetics of pretend football. Absolutely amazing season. Can't wait to see the end of it. Honestly, I just can't wait to see how this story will end, as we no doubt burn into a glorious ball of flame, and as we are ended.
Yeah, absolutely. Ensure that all of you fair listeners are looking to the skies. Let there be some tears, but not of sadness for the end of Sike and I. We have resigned ourselves to that. The morphine packs are well and gone, and as Sike has already alluded to, we have taken to drinking all of the medical alcohol that is on board. We want to bring you the most captivating end of a pretend football season that we can possibly do.
Absolutely.
And now is the time. Now is the time for us to truly reach our pinnacle.
It is true, and so without further ado, Maul, my good friend, I believe it is time for your matchup, is it not?
It is. Chasing titles is something only the most committed pretend football coaches can aspire to do. You need to be smart and decisive and nimble. You need to take chances and risks. Or you could do nothing at all and end up in the semifinals anyway, like Coach Shooter Cook and his giggity giggity. He's been at the top of the mountain before and intends on getting there again. Standing in his way was Mr. Magoo himself, Coach Greg Cooter and his Beavers, who backdoored their way into the playoffs, but now stand only one win away from the MAC championship game and all the spoils like endless kegs of beer that come along with it. The Rams, Beavers, showed less than stellar effort. For Matthew, I somehow still look like I'm the Lions quarterback Stafford, who threw 3 interceptions on the day en route to an 8.65 point total. And season-long standout Cooper Baby Megatron Cup was stifled as well, only scoring 16.3. Odell Beckham Jr. was barely ahead of projections, scoring 11.7, and overall, it seemed that the Beaver air attack was going to block the dam. But it was the running game that piled on as Sony the Game Michelle scored a mammoth 20, and Justin, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, was for real as well, scoring a game-high 30.2. Despite the running back heroics, the Beavers fell short of their weekly projection. Now, what could Giggity do to capitalize? Where the air attack of the Beavers was limp, Giggity, Coach Cook's air attack was engorged, Giggity. Pretend football MVP Aaron Rodgers was solid, tossing around 22 points, and the high point was the astonishing game of Deebo Samuel, who nearly doubled up his projection, scoring 23.6. Riding upon the coattails of these thick Giggity lads were a bevy of backups who, unfortunately for Shooter, just couldn't get it going. Hollywood Brown, Miles Sanders, A.J. Green, Kadarius Toney, George Kittle, and perhaps the most disappointing of all, Saquon, who has now changed his middle name to 1-800-MED-FUNG Barkley, all fell way, way, way short of their projections. In the end, this should serve as a cautionary tale for all you budding pretend coaches out there. Coach Cooter's Beavers, stomped out a huge one in Shooter's Giggity, 137.25 to 77.8, putting Coach Shooter out, our only remaining past champion, out to the fed pasture. Perhaps next year, Shooter will put up a bit more effort into assembling and cultivating his roster through the waiver wire, like Coach Magoo, Greg did. But all jokes aside, despite his jaundiced coloring and liver spots, Coach Greg Cooter has masterfully executed the all-in on Rams strategy that worked so woefully for previous owners in the past. How well will it serve him in the championship? How many beers will he have in preparation? What exactly is an IBU? Only time will tell.
Yeah, what a surprising development there. I glowed about Team Giggity just 1 week before, and look what they've wrought.
Yeah, look, this is why you play the games. They had a fantastic week in the last week. They managed to find their way into the semifinals, but they fall flat on their face. Chronic underperformance across the board, including injuries to some players that just have been injured virtually all season long, like Saquon Barkley. It didn't do anything good for Shooter, but I don't want to put this on Coach Shooter. Sometimes your players just do bad things. At the end of the day, this was a win. This wasn't Shooter just falling flat on his face. I believe that this was a win for Coach Greg Cooter. He wanted to get into the championship game. He knows we were all talking about that last game of the season. He knows that it is his fault that he had a chance to kick a team to the curb and make some things happen. He wanted to make it up to us, and now he is here in the MAC championship. I couldn't have writ a more poetic ending.
No, certainly not. All of the bards of antiquity and the modern age would have trouble keeping up with that particular ditty. Not to mention that they probably never even saw it coming.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. This has been a phenomenal end, and he has done something that a lot of people would question, right? Playing all the Rams, having all the Rams on their roster. It's not typically the archetypical way to do it in the fantasy football world, but he's managed to make it happen. But he's going to have a tough one in the championship game. I hear you have something pretty spicy on the slab over there in the medical bay, Sike.
Oh, absolutely, I do, Maul. Why don't you step in, have another cup of apple juice mixed with 90% ethyl alcohol, while I prepare the scalpel for work.
I'll enjoy it.
So, Week 16. The final duels to determine just who would face off with the treasured MAC trophy in the NJCFFL. The parties involved: the South Shardsville Gravy Legs and the Pine Lake Park Tombstones. The mystery: just who slew the dead men? Well, let's dig into the evidence and reach our final findings. Pine Lake Park's Stanky Lake Stadium hosted the showdown of the Lethal Evil Division rivals. This one was for the ticket into the Superb Owl, hosted by 1-800-MED-FUN. Early algorithms showed a slight advantage to South Shardsville, coming into this contest with big-time momentum after managing to outbad the Luxacs in a very disappointing quarterfinal game. The Deadmen would not be deterred, however. They were riding high on their drubbing of the once-feared Miami Yoramees. Well, the Tombstones turned up the heat on the bubbling mire of the Gravy Legs, with deceased Dak Prescott's 34.6-point performance. X'd out Ezekiel Elliott tried to follow that strong lead with 16.7 points, and the dead-hard Dallas D scored 33 points, all of them far outshining their projections. Good efforts by Chill Touch Christian Kirk, agonized Alan Lazard, and recently passed Robbie Anderson and his Don't Be a Menace to South Central LA while drinking your juice in the hood-ass hair. But all of these only served to open the floodgate to the raw sewage. South Shardsville surged in a bowel-shaking earthquake of filthy, filthy football. Joe Courtesy Flush Burrow putting up 43.3 points. The living God, Amon St. Brown, managing a divine 21.5. Stefan Dookie Shoes Diggs flung up 18 points, and T. Double Flush Please Higgins managed an amazing 37.4. Philadelphia, and you know how Philly smells, put up 24 points, and just like that, the Tombstones found themselves up to their eyeballs in South Sharpsville scores. So what was the final score? It was 188.35 to 154.30. South Sharpsville slams the lid on the Tombstones and leaves them to circle the stained bowl, leaving their final claw marks all the way down like the scene of a West Texas flophouse shitter. An amazing display by Coach Mike Kuter, who will advance to the KUTERBOWL. What a drubbing, high score of the week, and honestly a pretty competitive game up until just those massive scores by them South Sharpsville Gravy Legs.
Yeah, and you know, hats off to Coach Scott. He did a good job this season putting himself in a position to make some things happen, but sometimes you just end up on the wrong side of it, and this time the filth of the South Sharpsville Gravy Legs, they will play for the MAC Trophy. What a win for Coach Mike Kuter. You know, he's been very active. He's been making moves, making trades. He's put together a very formidable roster, and things maybe just are peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I would agree with it there. It really, if we want to actually take a closer look at this championship game, the KUTERBOWL, if you will, it's almost the yin and the yang of the Kuter pretend football playing styles. You've got the careful preparation that South Sharpsville puts into their roster, and you've got this wild abandon that Greg just allows to schlub into the place, and it ends up doing amazing. It's really going to be a clash of styles.
Yeah, truly, and you know, these two coaches, brothers, hated rivals, but this really goes deeper than anything that we can fathom. I think that what's really on the line here is all of the pride. South Sharpsville beats the Kuter Institute Beavers on the last week of the regular season to lock up their playoff chance. That was the moment that Coach Greg had to stab his brother in the heart and truly do the damage. Or maybe this was the plan all along. Get him in the championship, know that he's there, and then make him humble over the MAC trophy.
Oh, I see. That's a very sneaky turn of phrase, and you know I like that. I love that underhanded, dirty shit, which is why I love South Sharpsville. Look, there is no doubt that Coach Greg Kuter has a mountain of poop to climb if he wants to compete at the highest level with South Sharpsville. It really could be anyone's game. We've seen South Sharpsville, that crippling mid-season depression that they were struck by, almost like they were a zombie moving with Fed. I mean, will that ghost still haunt him for the MAC trophy?
It's certainly possible. I mean, as of right now, our gauge laser is saying that he has a very slim lead in the projections. That, of course, with Coach Greg not having a kicker on his roster due to being body slammed by COVID-19. I assume that Coach Greg will find a kicker before the games start and will at least be somewhat closer or even maybe slightly ahead of the South Sharpsville Gravy Legs come kickoff time. But I tell you what, this game is going to be phenomenal. I mean, we've got all-world, nearly ancient quarterback Matt Stafford going against young upstart Joe Burrow. You've got Cooper Kupp, who has been a fantasy, I don't even know the proper word, but potentially a fantasy god, as it were, against the literal Amon-Ra St. Brown, the living god. You've got Stefan Diggs, you've got Odell Beckham Jr., you've got Dalvin Cook, you've got Najee Harris. These are all superstar players. all playing on the line for a world championship. I am stupid with excitement and paralyzed with fear that we're going to die soon.
I mean, absolutely. We can only hope that our last moments will flicker out amidst the celebration of whoever decides to win this most savage of contests. It's KUTERBOWL, Maul. It's officially time for KUTERBOWL. It is officially time to get psyched for the MAC trophy because it's coming. You can't stop it. It's on its way. Just like we are on our way to a date with the hard ground.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And it's been this way for many, many years. These two teams have been in the NJCFFL for virtually its inception. Coach Greg took a couple of seasons off to, get sober, which didn't work. But it is now right at the moment where it's almost like these two teams have been on a collision course, not just in this season, but of all time. This is the ultimate bragging right moment.
Yeah, I mean, there really isn't any other time and any other opponent that knows you better than your own flesh and blood. And when you're competing for that MAC trophy, it's going to get nasty. It's going to get real nasty. And it's just going to translate into some absolutely gobsmacking fantasy football.
Yeah, I really can't wait to see it. Hopefully, the antennas here on PSBN 1 hold out long enough for us to get game images in and to send you the recap for the pretend game of the year, the KUTERBOWL for the MAC trophy. Sike, this has been a fantastic season, and we're right there. We've almost done it. We are 1 week away.
That's right, 1 week away, and by my will alone, I will hold this bucket of bolts together until the very final time, and that is a Sike Manders guarantee.
Guaranteed.
Indeed. So, from all of us here at PSBN and aboard the quickly failing PSBN 1, this has been our flagship program, Pretend Football Now.